It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I just learned Discover credit cards do something pretty awesome. At the end of your first year, they automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right, everything you earned doubled. All the cash back from eating at your favorite soup dumpling restaurant doubled. All the cash back from the trip where you sort of learned how to snowboard also doubled. And the best part, you don't have to do anything ridiculous to get it. Nope, Discover does it automatically. Seriously though, see terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/match.
It's time for round two, baby. So buckle up, hockey fans, because Steele and I have all of the second round breakdowns and predictions. Aside from that New Jersey Rangers game, we have it all on today's episode. Thank you for joining us. Let's tap in and let's get this money.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab, everybody, and thank you for tuning in for the Monday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We are part of the Locked On Network, your team every single day, and thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We are here Monday through Friday for all of your playoff breakdown needs, and that's what we got more of today's episode, Steele. I'm hyped for round two. My goodness, the Boston Bruins bowing out, Colorado Avalanche bowing out. There is so much to talk about. We're going to also dive into our predictions for the series that we know. Obviously, we're ahead of Game 7 between the Rangers and Devils, so we do not know yet exactly who Carolina is going to face, but we know the rest of the series, and we're going to get to every single one and talk about, I think, Steele, right off the jump, the Boston Bruins, after arguably the best season ever in the regular season, getting bounced. Why don't we start there, my friend, if you're okay with that? Because I think as much as what's going on with the Seattle Kraken and the Colorado Avalanche, and we're going to get there, we're going to get to Oilers Knights, we're going to get to Panthers Leafs, and everything in between. The Boston Bruins bow out in the first round. What did you see from that series? All things said and done, where do you think the Boston Bruins went wrong?
Well, right where I want to start off is this is the biggest collapse in sports history from one of the best teams in any sports league. And it truly is, because when you talk about the regular season that the Bruins just had, winning 65 games, having the best win percentage in NHL history, having the most winning regular season as well. It's the biggest collapse in playoff history for one of the best teams out there. And for me, it's just honestly poetic justice, because 10 years ago to the day, pretty much to the day, the Bruins come back in Game 7 against the Maple Leafs, down 4-1, and they end up winning in overtime. And then fast forward 10 years later, the Maple Leafs slay the Dragon, slay the Beast. They move on to the second round, and the Bruins, they're the ones to have that feeling of misery and pain and collapse in the pit of their stomach, and they now know what it feels like. So I am over the moon with how everything has turned out right now. But this was the turning point. This was the turning point in the series. It was the $10 million man, Sergei Bobrovsky. That was the turning point for Paul Maurice, the Florida Panthers, when they were down 3-1. He was the turning point, and this is what I'm taking away from it. If you ever need someone to bring down a 60-plus regular season winning team, you better go call Bobrovsky right now, because back in 2019, he defeated the 62-team win Tampa Bay Lightning, and now the Boston Bruins. So that's the one thing, but I got a couple more. More things I take away from this series, because it was incredible that the Florida Panthers were able to come back and win this down.
It really was.
But I love Matthew Tkachuk's post-game interviews, basically saying that everyone besides the people in that locker room knew that we were the underdogs, thought that we were the underdogs, didn't think we were going to win this series, but everyone in that dressing room won. So these are the three things I'm taking away. Number one, Matthew Tkachuk is a top 10 fantasy draft, maybe even higher, after the regular season he just had and what he's done in the postseason first round. Agreed. That's number one. Number 2, Brandon. Well, I don't want to take credit for this because our good friend Michael Amadio posted this on Twitter last night. But number 2, Brandon Montour has solidified himself higher in the fantasy draft than Aaron Ekblad. It just
100%.
100%. That is a fact. And number 3, Carter Verhaeghe's fantasy value has skyrocketed to an all-time high, and he will be taken by yours truly if you don't take him from me, Flip, in next year's draft.
Hey, look. I am a little bit of a broken record when I come on this show, and sometimes it doesn't pan out, but other times with the players that I was really liking this year, fantasy and otherwise, Carter Verhaeghe was right there at the top of my list. And all of our dedicated listeners know they've seen the trades that we've made, Steele. They've seen our Keeper Dynasty rosters. We're full transparency on this show. We don't just put our bets and our picks and our fantasy teams on the show. We show what's going on with what we're doing. And Carter Verhaeghe was a player that I've really, really liked. 42 goals in the regular season. And yeah, he wasn't maybe there with the goal scoring power, but he was there when the team needed him with the clutch assist. And obviously with the series clinching goal, maybe the most important one of his career, not maybe for sure. And Carter Verhaeghe, if people aren't paying attention yet, this is a guy who's been getting it done at all levels of his career, junior or otherwise. And we're going to talk a little bit about Leafs Panthers, and I'll get to what I think Verhaeghe is going to have to do against the Leafs. But credit due to this Florida Panthers team, because like you said, Steele, Matthew Tkachuk is the leader in the dressing room. He's the leader on the ice, and he puts his money where his mouth is. Is he an agitator? For sure. But he reminds me a little bit of Brad Marchand in the sense of he will go there in the mix. He will chirp. He will take some bad penalties, but he will come back and he will bury you with a timely goal or a big assist or both. And I think what you said about his fantasy value is spot on. So that's number 1. And number 2, Bobrovsky has been a roller coaster over the last couple of seasons. But when he comes in these big time moments, he's either boom or bust, Steele. And again, we'll talk about Bobrovsky's numbers a little bit more in detail when we talk about the Panthers Leafs. But a .936 save percentage, stopping 44 of 47 shots in Game 5, and then to be in the clutch, stopping 33 of 36, .917 save percentage in Game 7. Clearly going to him was the move. No disrespect due to Alex Lyon. Bobrovsky saved this team's bacon in a very big way. And to me, he is the key to this series with the Toronto Maple Leafs. But thank you for pointing out this epic collapse on the Boston Bruins. All we've been hearing for the past 6 months is this team is going to march away with the Stanley Cup. And I was wrong. I had the Boston Bruins taking this series in 5 games. So I'm right there along with the pundits that were wrong. The NHL chase for the cup is wide open. And that's what I had to get off my chest now before I flip it back over to you. Take it anywhere you want with the topics. The Stanley Cup is ripe for the taking. And realistically, I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite. I could see almost every single team that's in this race winning the cup aside from, I just don't see it for the Seattle Kraken, but we'll talk about them as well, won't we?
We will talk about them very, very shortly because they took down the reigning Stanley Cup champions, Colorado Avalanche, in Game 7. Another series I did not see going the distance and in the favor of the underdog in this game. But you're right. The entire playoffs is now wide open. I don't agree with you. I think the Seattle Kraken, they definitely have a chance to go all the way. With the way that, look, we're going to get into it more in depth, but I think they have a very good chance at going all the way to the Stanley Cup finals with the way they've played this season and in that first round. But you're right. Things are changing right now. We've never seen a second round look this way in a very long time. Obviously the Toronto Maple Leafs finally doing it since 2004, getting out of the first round. It's just phenomenal. Bruins getting bounced in the first round after a 3-1 lead. Haven't seen that ever. The new teams that are entering into the second round, it's a new era of hockey right now. And I'm absolutely here for it because honestly, at some point it gets a little bit tiring and it just gets a little bit tiring seeing the same teams play each other in the second and the third in the Stanley Cup finals. So I like this. I love the fact that new teams are getting better and better every single year. And it creates that, kind of like mix up a little bit of who moves on. So I'm really here for it, but we are going to get to the Seattle Kraken because they take down a giant in the Colorado Avalanche. We do want to talk about the Valeri Nichuskin incident as well as the Andrew Cogliano injury that happened in Game 6, I believe it was. So that and everything else coming up after this.
Yeah, we're going to get to it. We'll get to those very quickly because I think the meat and potatoes of this episode, we got to break down these second round series. Leafs, Panthers, Kraken, Stars, Oilers, Golden Knights. Might have a bet or two up the sleeve. But today's episode, we got to pay these bills, baby. It's sponsored by Athletic Greens and AG1. It's a product Steele and I use every single day. Steele hates taking pills and supplements. I like getting that energy boost before the gym, after the gym. What is it? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. It helps you age with grace. It helps you sleep better. It helps you focus at work. And with less than 1 gram of sugar and no GMOs or nasty chemicals, you are putting the best stuff in your body every single day. It costs you less than $3 a day, and investing in your health has never been cheaper. It's cheaper than your cold brew habit, Steele. I know you're on those cold brews, and you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews and is recommended by pro athletes around the world and trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. With just 1 scoop in a cup of water every single day, that's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is head over to athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Hey there, Locked On listener. Erica L. Ayala from Locked On Kraken here. And I just learned Discover credit cards do something pretty awesome. At the end of your first year, they automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right. Everything you've earned doubled. All of the cash back from eating at your favorite soup dumpling restaurant doubled. All the cash back from that trip where you sort of learned to snowboard also doubled. And the best part, you don't have to do anything ridiculous to get it. Nope, Discover does it automatically. Seriously though, see terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/match.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you go check out Armando Velez of Locked On Panthers Florida and Mike DiStefano and Dave Morsuti from Locked On Maple Leafs. We are all a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Those two are going head-to-head in the playoff second round. Florida Panthers, Toronto Maple Leafs. So make sure you check out the Locked On Maple Leafs and the Locked On Panthers. Break down the entire second round between those two teams, which we are going to do as well over the next week or so for every single second round series moving forward. But Seattle Kraken take down a giant in the Colorado Avalanche. You know what? Yep. I don't want to say they were at their best or fully healthy, ready to go because they weren't. But that's no excuse. When you have Nathan McKinnon, when you have Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar, and your boy Alexander Georgiev, besides 2 of those games where he was awful, he was great in this series.
He was good.
He was good. But there was 2 games I thought he was horrendous. I thought he was
and honestly, Steele, if you don't mind me interjecting, he just, in my opinion, and I know you guys weren't feeling my Korpisalo take, so hit me with your honest opinion on this take. He just wasn't there for the big save. A couple of these games felt like they could have turned the tide with a really timely big save, and I just don't think he was there. Maybe it's his lack of playoff experience. I don't know. Maybe it's that just he wasn't able to count on the offense, even though I think the offense was there at key moments. His numbers, though, were pretty solid. 914 save and a 2.60 goals against. I just think it really comes down to that timely save, and I think in the playoffs they're so critical for the confidence and the flow of the game. He wasn't there when they needed him the most, And Philip Grubauer was. And simply put, Philip Grubauer is the surprise of the series. I think that's easy to say. He was sensational. And I have right at the top of my notes for my takeaway for this series. And I think both you and I said ahead of this series, the Seattle Kraken's blue line needs so much more respect put on its name. And I know the Colorado Avalanche aren't at full capacity. They still have Rantanen, they still have McKinnon, and they still have Makar. And arguably, those are three of the best. Well, they are three of the best players in the league. And this team held the Colorado Avalanche to 2.6 goals per game. And aside from Rantanen, they only allowed 12 goals against the whole series. So credit due to that entire Kraken blue line. And of course, Philip Grubauer. And I just want to say this before I put it back over to you. Finally, the Colorado Avalanche's absences in the lineup caught up to them. I think finally they got through the whole year being banged up. Nichuskin dealing with all this off-ice incidents, which is also crazy. Yeah. I think it finally caught up to them, and you saw it happen in their Game 7 loss.
That's exactly what happened as well. And even we got to show some love to the Seattle Kraken because, I don't think either of us saw them even making the playoffs.
No way.
But neither of us had them getting past the first round against the Colorado Avalanche.
No.
And you got to show them respect because Nathan McKinnon came out and said that this was the hardest first round series that he has ever played in. And the Seattle, and that's the type of hockey the Seattle Kraken play. They just keep on pushing, firing every single second they are on the ice and the game is going. So that's the type of hockey they play. That's the type of hockey that Dave Haxtell has engraved and instilled into this hockey club. And they needed Philip Grubauer to be that guy. He was that guy against his former club. But Avalanche go down in Game 7. Kraken taking on the Dallas Stars in round 2. So the one thing that my takeaway is because when we talk about fantasy hockey, there wasn't really much I could take away from the Seattle Kraken standpoint because their top leader only had 6 points. You know, Oliver Bjorkstrand had a really great Game 7, but that was about it the entire series. My takeaway from this, if I'm taking away anything, is my stance on Devin Taves remains the same. His fantasy value still is the exact same as what it was last year and what it was the year before. Obviously, last year was a down year, but after what he did, a goal and 7 assists in the playoffs, I still think he has that fantasy touch moving forward. So that's one of the takeaways from my standpoint of this.
I think I called for that down year, though, right? I called for that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he did have a down year in the regular season, but
I'm with you. I'm not disagreeing. I just, you know me.
In the playoffs. No, of course.
Tires.
And, but yeah, you know, when the Colorado Avalanche are missing Valeri Nichuskin, what a weird incident. You know, obviously, we're not going to get into great detail with that, but
no, just seems like bad decision making.
It's bad decision making, but I just don't understand why the Colorado Avalanche are so silent about this. Like the media has asked Jared Bednar and the team about this situation. Is he away because of what happened in Seattle at the hotel? Or then the comments back are just like, no, he's away for personal reasons. It's not involving that. It definitely is. It is very weird. So weird situation. I read something today. It's like, oh, like they should just like buy him out or just like get rid of him or something because it's a very, very sketchy incident going on.
Well, the thing is with this player in general, Steele, we know he's been back and forth with the KHL. There's been some previous off-ice issues, if I'm not mistaken, with Nichuskin in his career. It's been a little bit of a cloak and dagger situation with what's going on with Nichuskin. And look, if there's no legal ramifications, which it seems like there might not be, just, you know, there's just so much.
Not yet.
Not yet. So why not just come out and say that? I'm with you. I don't know why. There must obviously be, the team has a lawyer staff and they're maybe standing behind what the lawyers are saying. At the end of the day, though, and we're not here to speculate on off-ice issues, it clearly affected them. Nichuskin was a warrior last playoffs, playing through injuries, being clutch with points, and not having Landeskog. Okay, we know that's key. Nazem Kadri's absence after how good he was last year, we're not a broken record. It was obvious he was a beast for them last postseason, and
Yeah.
it hurt their ability to roll 2 or 3 lines effectively. And this is just what happens, Steele. It catches up to them. But I'm with you. I'm actually like, if I was on national TV, I'd be calling out the Colorado Avalanche for this, because this is just not how you treat any kind of off-ice situation where it seems like your player is not treating women with the kind of respect or people that they deserve. And we're not here for a ethics violation talk.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm with you. Just very sketchy, very weird situation. And hey, it cost them in the long run, didn't it? And now they're going to be golfing, and let's see how they handle it after the fact. I don't think we need to get too in-depth with this Cogliano incident. It was a hit from Eberle. To me, it was a very questionable hit. I would have looked at that much more. You can't be hitting a guy in that position. I would have maybe thrown a fine at Eberle. He's not a dirty player. That's my take from that. I don't know what you think about that hit, and we can move on to our predictions.
Yeah, you know what? It was definitely a questionable hit. It was on the numbers. It probably should have been a 5-minute major. In retrospect of everything. At the same time, it really does depend on how the player goes into the boards, because we've seen that type of hit millions of times with the ramifications not being that severe. It's the way that his body is kind of folding on the upper half. Yeah, crumpled, and his head actually snapped to the right, which fractured his neck. So definitely one of the scarier injuries, I would have to say. Anything involving the head and the neck is something that obviously you want to stay away from.
Didn't he play the rest of the game? What a warrior.
I think he came out for like 2 more shifts, and then
what a warrior.
Had to leave. Yeah, absolutely warrior hockey players are. But Cogliano, fractured neck, Nichuskin away from the team. We're going to keep up to date on all of that. We forgot to mention when we were talking earlier this episode that the future for Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci is up in the air right now. Very emotional time for both those players after Game 7 defeat against the Panthers. They're going to take some time to think about what their future holds if they decide to come back to the NHL. But that is up in the air, so that has some implications for fantasy hockey teams next season as well. So keep an eye on that. We'll be keeping an eye this offseason with all the news.
The following message was written by ChatGPT.
Get the inside scoop on everything NHL playoffs with Locked On NHL. Join our expert hosts as they break down the latest news, games, and predictions. From the hottest players to the biggest upsets, we've got you covered. Don't miss a beat this postseason. Locked On NHL. Available on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Again, make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. We appreciate you. And make sure you subscribe. We love all the comments. Make sure you comment, DM us on Twitter. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. With that being said, let's get over to Round 2 predictions, Flip. Maple Leafs taking on the Florida Panthers. Seattle Kraken taking on the Dallas Stars. Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Edmonton Oilers. We still await. You know what? I'm just going to go with it. I'm assuming it's the New York Rangers versus Carolina Hurricanes. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to.
People in Jersey are about to throw hate if they end up winning this game tonight, Steele.
I don't want to jinx anyone, so I take it back, reel that comment back. But let's start.
My playoff pool roster very much needs the Rangers to go through because if they don't, that was a quick 50 donation. But we're not here to talk about that. What are we here to talk about, Steele? Because
Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. Let's start with those clubs over there in the Eastern Conference. Right off the bat, what's your prediction? What do you feel for this series against the Panthers? Overall, I look at the regular season. Maple Leafs, it's in their favor.
Panthers, Leafs played 4 times. The Leafs took 3 of 4, including both in South Florida, scoring 15 goals across those 4 meetings. To me, the key to the success, before I hit you with my preview, it is clearly for the Florida Panthers, the ability of Bobrovsky to get it done. And I really don't see any other way for the Florida Panthers to get past this Toronto Maple Leafs team unless their goaltender steals them one or two.
Yeah.
And here we are talking about the Panthers not being able to get it done against a much better, more talented team. And the one thing that I would have to say is be careful for the confidence coming from Matthew Tkachuk and feeding the rest of this lineup because they're believing, Steele. And hey, I'm going to say Leafs in 6. I wanted to say Leafs in 5.
Yeah.
But I do think the confidence of slaying the dragon of the best regular season team, arguably, we've ever seen, you can't cut out playoff momentum. And this team might be feeling it as one of those teams of destiny. And I got a few key points. We're going to get to that. But my prediction, it's got to be Bobrovsky holding it down. And it has to be points from the blue line. You mentioned Brandon Montour. What a beast of a first round. My goodness. And Ekblad was a ghost. So thank goodness for Florida that Montour put up 3 goals, 3 assists, 16 shots on net, and over 24 minutes of ice time. I got Leafs in 6, baby, because they cleared that hurdle. And I don't care. Put it in the comments. Hit us in the DMs. You want to call us a homer? Call us a homer. The Toronto Maple Leafs are built for a cup run. Ilya Samsonov hasn't even scraped what he can do. You saw what he can do in Game 6, and he's the key for the Leafs as well. Leafs in 6, Steele. I don't know what you think about that.
Look, both these teams have a ton of confidence, and rightfully so, heading into the second round. Leafs finally get over the hump of the first round. Florida Panthers crawl back, being down 3-1 against the best team ever in NHL history, and they move on. So both teams have a ton of confidence, and rightfully so. My gut wants me to say Maple Leafs in 6, but I'm actually going with Maple Leafs in 5. And for 2 reasons why. A, looking at the regular season, pure domination from around, not pure domination, but they go 3-0-1 in the regular
Those 3
season.
games, they took it to the Panthers.
They did take it to the Panthers. So that's one. Number 2, the Maple Leafs won all 3 games on the road against the Tampa Bay Lightning. That speaks for itself. So they already beat one Florida-based team.
Great point.
All 3 games on the road. I think they can do it again. So honestly,
and they took the 2 games against Florida this year in Florida.
Exactly. So they play well on the road in Florida, it seems like. I think, and you know what the better fact is, now that they're going up against Florida, we've got home ice advantage. That plays a part into it too. I think after 2 games, it's tied 1-1. Or sorry. After 2 games, Leafs up 2-0. And it goes back to Florida, and it's 3-1. They split on the road, and then comes back to Toronto for Game 5.
Did they not have home ice advantage in the first round, though?
They did have home ice advantage,
just
but
making
Tampa
sure.
Bay is a different beast than Florida.
Oh, no,
Panthers,
for sure. I'm just, hey, man, you know me. I've been on the honeymoon. I'm on the Amalfi Coast here. I'm coming home in a couple of days, just in time for us to ratchet up this second round coverage. So make sure you are tuned and tapped into the show, because Steele and I are just getting warmed up. Anyway, that's a sidebar. Please continue with what you were going to say.
No, that's pretty much it. I've got Leafs in 5 here. I just think their ability to crawl back in desperate situations late in the third period. They're great on the road, it seems like. I've got Leafs in 5. You got Leafs in 6 in this series. Let's get over to the Western Conference, though. Yeah. Seattle Kraken taking on the Dallas Stars. This one, for me, might be a little hate enforced, because I'm still a little rattled that the Stars got past. But it's not fully because of my emotions. I truly believe, after what I've witnessed from the Seattle Kraken, what I've seen from them in the postseason at this point as well, even if they don't have guys, their leading scorer in the postseason only has 6 points right now. I don't know who it is off the top of my head, but only 6 points. For you. Only 6 points for the Seattle Kraken's leading point scorer. So to me, it doesn't really matter. They play the type of hockey where it is 110% every single time the puck is going. And that's the type of hockey they play. Philip Grubauer's been great. I've got Kraken in 7, actually. They take it on the road in 7 games against the Dallas Stars.
I can't disagree with you about giving this team credit. I can't take apart. They just not dismantled. They really gave the Colorado Avalanche, the reigning Cup champs, a full run for their money, and then absolutely shut them down in Game 7. The fact that that team could get it done in the Game 7 fashion that they did might be potentially most indicative of what their top, like that's their best game of the season.
Yeah.
Right? Game 7 was the best game of their season. So if they can bottle that kind of energy, I'm with you. I kind of have to disagree when Yanni Gourde with 1 goal and 6 points leads the team, and now you're going up against Jake Ottinger. And I know as much as your hate-fueled take against the Dallas team that took out the Minnesota Wild, and I guess before I build up Ottinger, I'll say this. The Minnesota Wild superstars, they didn't get it done offensively.
They did.
So maybe Ottinger wasn't fully tested to what he should be, but Jake Ottinger is going to be a real problem for the Seattle Kraken team if they have to rely on Yanni Gourde to lead the way offensively, and that's where I have to leave it, Steele. Jake Ottinger is a top 5 goalie, and he proved it in the first round with a .930 save percentage and a 2.01 goals against. He wasn't fully tested. Grubauer was sensational. I got stars in 6. The only way that the Seattle Kraken get this series done, they got to have some offense from those top 2 lines. Someone's going to – Jaden Schwartz, I don't even know who it has to be. We know Schwartz has done it in the playoffs before for the Blues. Maybe it's one of these Eberle. I don't know who's going to have to get it done. That's my concern, Steele, because everything that I saw from the Kraken in Game 7, like you said, proves that they deserve to be in the second round, and they deserve to be in this mix with the best teams in the league this year. So I just got to say, they better get pucks on net, and they better rattle Ottinger's cage, because if he gets settled, it's going to be a quick series for the Stars.
That's the one thing that might be different from my take with the Seattle Kraken is I don't think it has to be one guy. I think it's a full team effort in this situation, because they don't have that one guy. They just don't. They don't have the one guy. It has to be better. It has to be every single guy doing their part. Guys on the blue line stepping in, jumping in, jumping in on rushes when they get the chances. Grubauer continuing to stand on his head. I think
Grubauer was seriously really good, and
he was the difference maker.
I would be scared of if the Dallas Stars are looking at this, because I think you and I have talked at length about we know goalies steal these series. So I really think this comes down, and it's such a cop-out this time of year, but hey, that's where I'm at right now, Steele. The goaltenders in all of these series obviously weigh so much into what happens. I'm just fired up for round 2. I got Dallas in 6. You got Seattle in 7. I smell a little side bet coming here.
A little side bet action here. Let's get over to the last series that we know of for the second round. This one, we're going to be very quick with it because we're running a little late on time here for this episode. Edmonton Oilers taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. It's simple for me. I have the Edmonton Oilers in 6. I think they win it at home in 6. And again, you and I both have the Edmonton Oilers going all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, so there's no question.
I have them winning the Cup.
Yeah, you have them winning the Cup. I have them going to the Stanley Cup Finals, so we're both in the same boat at this point. But yeah, Oilers in 6. I just think if Stuart Skinner can just be a little bit better, he needs to be better. But if he can be a little bit better, it just relieves a little bit of pressure for the offensive group, even though they're going to continue to do what they do.
Look, I made a lot of notes on all these series, and I think I have to continue to say what I said all year, and I was wrong all year. I wasn't buying into the Golden Knights, and the rotating carousel of goaltenders is going to catch up to them at some point. I know Laurent Brossoit held it down against his former team. He was good in the moments that he needed to be, and the balanced attack offensively, Chandler Stevenson, Jack Eichel.
Unbelievable.
Who was William Karlsson was also sensational.
Yep.
That balanced attack is hard to deal with come postseason, but here is where it lies for me, Steele. And I got Oilers in 6 as well. I think you said Oilers in 6, didn't you?
Yeah, Oilers in 6.
I got Oilers in 6 and well, but here is the key point for me. The Vegas Golden Knights had the 19th best PK in the league this season. That's not going to be nearly good enough if you want to shut down this Oilers team, if you know what I'm saying, on the power play. If they're bringing that 19th to 20th ranked power or penalty kill, McDavid is going to absolutely steamroll, and this Oilers team is now growing in confidence, beating, in my opinion, the LA Kings are just as good as the Vegas Golden Knights, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
So I think if you're out there sprinkling money on a series winner, a series outcome, the one that I'm most confident in is the Oilers to take this series. And I know there's going to be some hate from Golden Knights fans, and that's okay. But the 19th best penalty kill, they better pull up their socks, because McDavid and Draisaitl, as much as they went off in the first round, they're just getting warmed up. And if they can get a couple of timely saves from Skinner, this series might be over in less than 6 games. That's just me, but I got Oilers in 6. And also, the Oilers took 3 of 4 regular season meetings against this Vegas Golden Knights team, scoring 18 goals over those 4 games, Steele.
And believe it or not, both the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs are the top 2 favorite teams heading into the second round to win the Stanley Cup right now.
Here we go.
I think the Oilers, if I'm reading it correctly, plus 340 to win the Stanley Cup. Maple Leafs plus 440 to win the Stanley Cup. So both Canadians teams coming in the top 2 positions.
I'm coming in hot with a few bets there.
You know it. We love it. Absolutely love making some money and some bets on this podcast over here. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Again, make sure you're tuning in for the remainder of the week, Monday through Friday, episodes in the morning, 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. And thank you again so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Go Leafs, go.
Make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs, because right now new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000, meaning $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. With FanDuel, you get great promotions every day and a safe and secure app to play on. Plus, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
We made USAA insurance for veterans like James. When he found out how much USAA was helping members save, he said,
"It's time to switch.
We'll help you find the right coverage at the right price. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for. Restrictions apply."
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.